A while ago, perhaps 6 months before I started this channel, I started slowly putting out there the idea that progressivism is actually a religion. And not just any kind of religion, but rather Islam tier type of religion. You see, most religions have adapted somehow to reality. I mean, heck, even the Amish still do acknowledge that modernity and reality actually do exist, and they just don't want any part of it. But they don't go around trying to deny the truth of it. Same with every single religion out there except Islam and, I argue, progressivism. It is uniquely progressivism and Islam who are willing to go to war with reality for its audacity of not conforming to their own sacred texts. Let's explore. Hello everyone and welcome to probably the most cringy video I ever made. Now I do apologize in advance to the folks who have already gotten the chance to see the video I am about to show you, but it is such a nice expression of progressivism that I just could not miss the opportunity to comment on it. So, coming from the University of Cape Town, South Africa, the science faculty meets the progressive group the Fallists, that rallies under the hashtag Science Must Fall. And no, I am not joking. Let's watch.
Responses and then take the next round.
Okay, so can I respond to your submissions because I wanted to directly respond. I was actually thinking about this coming here because I thought that it was going to be one of the coming questions. How do we even start to decolonize science? Because science is true because it is science, and what can you do? And my response to that was, if I personally were committed to enforcing decolonization, science as a whole is a product of Western modernity, and the whole thing should be scratched off, especially in Africa. So if you want practical solutions to how to decolonize science, we'd have to restart science from, I don't know, an African perspective, from our perspective of how we've experienced science.
So, science needs to go and restart it from the African perspective. Now, okay, I'm fine with that. Now I see a tablet and 2 phones on that table. Now please give those back because they are a product of Western modernity and not African science. I also see the room has air conditioning invented by Willie's Carrier, so please do dismantle that too because it's colonizing and thus oppressing. I also see a plastic bottle on that table. Please remove that one too because Africans drink straight up from the water spring. That soda is the product of Western modernity. Also, why is she speaking English? Shouldn't she be using Zulu or Xhosa or maybe Tsonga or Tswana? Why use English? English is colonizing. You can't have that. She's also wearing jeans, another product of Western modernity, so please get back to your traditional clothing. And that's for now, because this video is only getting worse as we progress. Now let's hear her giving us an example of valid Afrocentric science and belief.
For instance, I had a question for all the science people is, there's a place in KZN, Mkhabyalingana, and they believe that through the magic, the black magic, you call it black magic, they call it witchcraft, others, that you are able to send a lightning to strike someone. So can you explain that scientifically? Because it is something that happens
Oh God. I feel like picking up on the retarded kid in the back of the classroom, but this really needs to be done. So, the science faculty folks who actually live in reality as opposed to the progressive la la land simply told her that no, magic to target someone with the lightning doesn't work and doesn't exist. And here comes the glorious part.
Sorry. I need to address you directly. When we started this, we agreed on certain house rules.
Okay.
And by you doing that, you're disrespecting the sacredness of the space.
I'm sorry, what? Please, say that again.
You're disrespecting the sacredness of the space. You're disrespecting the sacredness of the space. The sacredness of the space.
The sacredness of the space. Now, please come again and tell me this is not a religion. And it is explicitly a progressive religion. She says it. I mean, who am I to contest it? Let's watch further.
And so I'd like to ask you to first please apologize to the panel directly. And then number two, understand the rules that we went by in this space. Because it's going to be very problematic. When we started, this is not an antagonizing space. And so what you're trying to do is collapse the space and make it antagonizing, which we will not allow. This is a progressive space for people to say their opinions.
Did you hear that? Did you catch that?
This is a progressive space for people to say their opinions. This is a progressive space.
Said in the same breath after shutting down someone who tried to inject some light into the empty void of darkness of the progressive space. It is uniquely progressives and Muslims who can do this with a straight face. Muslims are able to say that mandatory burqa is empowering. Progressives are able to shut people up and say that's empowering and non-antagonizing. And both groups are able to keep a straight face while doing it. Amazing.
And we have noted how those opinions are going to be laid out. So I would like you to first apologize and then go on and agree to abiding by the rules of the space. Otherwise, I would, if you're not willing to do that, I'd please ask you to remove yourself from the space. But those are the rules of engagement of the space.
Okay, I'm very sorry to the panel.
Okay, and you agree to abide by the rules of the space. Thank you.
That, right there, was a mistake. The solution is not to apologize. The solution is to continue to argue, especially if you know this is being recorded. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. Letting them have their way is a losing strategy in addition to being deeply immoral. Progressives are evil, it's really that simple, and conceding to evil makes you complicit. Now, what could she do? Ask you to remove yourself from the space? And if you said no? You see, this is what students in particular need to understand. You must make the progressives live up to their own book of rules and lead them to act as irrationally as possible, which they will inevitably do. Anyway, let's watch some more as the original anti-science bigot continues her rant. This is getting more and more glorious.
Okay, so I will finish. See, that very response is the reason why I am not in the science faculty. I did science throughout my high school years, and there was a lot of things that I just, but it's fine. But Western modernity is the direct antagonistic factor to decolonization, because Western knowledge is totalizing. It is saying that it was Newton and only Newton who knew or saw an apple falling, and then out of nowhere decided that gravity existed and created an equation, and that is it. For the whether people knew Newton or not, or whether whatever happens in Western Africa, Northern Africa, the thing is, the only way to explain gravity is through Newton, who sat under a tree and saw an apple fall. So Western modernity is the problem that decolonization directly deals with, to say that we are going to decolonize by having knowledge that is produced by us, that speaks to us, and that is able to accommodate knowledge from our perspective. So if you're saying that you disagree with her approach, it means that you are vested in the Western and Eurocentric way of understanding.
So you're either with us or against us. I'm glad to see leftism as taught to Mandela by the KGB still survives to this day in the minds of leftist activists in South Africa. Anyway, carry on.
Which means you yourself still need to go back internally, decolonize your mind, come back and say, how can I re-look at what I've been studying all these years? Because Western knowledge is very pathetic, to say the least. I, from a decolonized perspective, believe we can do more as knowledge producers, as people who are given the ability to reason, or whatever is that people say we do when we think or rationalize. So decolonizing the science would mean doing away with it entirely and starting all over again to deal with how we respond to the environment and how we understand it. Thank you.
This is basically post-structuralist mumbo-jumbo, just like I brought to you in this video. Except this time it is racist post-structuralism rather than sexist post-structuralism. Same garbage, different flavor. Now, you can see on the screen that right after she finishes talking, she grabs a tablet or smartphone and swipes the screen. Now, either that device works because of voodoo, in which case it is okay from a fallist perspective, or the individual we just listened to is a complete and utter idiot. In any event, what the hell is this degeneracy, Cape Town University? I mean, really? These people make the homeopathy healers in Europe look like noble people in comparison. I mean, sure, homeopathy doesn't work, but at least its advocates don't argue against gravity and don't propose to do away with science entirely to leave room for magic. In other words, even the bullshitters of Europe still practice scientific bullshit, or better said, pseudo-scientific bullshit. In any event, these kinds of events are getting increasingly common. The attacks on science itself are random in the sense that there is no central planner for when and where are they deployed, but they're not random in the foundational sense. All of these attacks on science, whether because STEM syllabi are gendered or because science is too Western or whatever, they all have their foundation in the critical theory, that is, cultural Marxism. And I know you don't want to hear about cultural Marxism yet again, but you absolutely should, because this matters. The perversion and subversion of departments like medieval studies, or even the emergence of cancerous departments like gender studies or race and ethnicity studies, or really anything that ends in studies, are a problem per se, but are still a much more manageable problem. The left coming so hard on science itself is a whole different kind of problem. The kind of problem that should warrant the immediate attention of every single normal person. Because if science falls, most people are in deep trouble, especially people in Europe and North America, with some exceptions, as I laid out in the video, the thin layers of civilization. And yes, it's really that bad. In a way, the fact that Cape Town University recorded this nonsense and published it on its own YouTube channel with open ratings and comments did a much better job at dealing with the problem than other universities. I mean, after all, sunlight is the best disinfectant. Now look, I don't want to be too much of a doom and gloom, but if science departments start paying any, and I mean any, ever so slight consideration to anything these morons have to say, it really is game over. At the game of civilization, we are done. This is another similarity of progressivism, particularly fundamentalist progressivism, with fundamentalist Islam. They both have primitivist goals. Turning the whole place back to the 7th century. In fact, for progressives, the 7th century might still not be good enough. I mean, the 7th century still had some Western science in it, not to mention patriarchal gender norms. Now, we can't have that, can we? Anyway, if you're involved in the academe in any way, please do your part in keeping leftist subversion away from science. Don't do it for the sake of humanity, because I know I wouldn't do it, and I know I don't. But do it for selfish reasons. It is in your best interest for this civilization to continue to exist, even if you are a progressive yourself. In fact, especially if you're a progressive, since progressivism cannot exist outside of this civilization. There is a reason this degeneracy came from Cape Town and not from Nairobi. It requires a certain civilizational level to be able to afford progressivism. But I guess that's a topic for another day, hopefully soon enough, because progressivism as a luxury problem is an issue that needs urgent attention for sure. But until then, thank you for watching, and I guess I'll see you soon on Freedom Alternative.